Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, whatever time of day this video finds you. It's your boy Jay here, and today we're going to be talking about monsters you do want to see make it to Monster Hunter Wilds. Alright, now this is a follow-up to a video I made not too long ago, which is the top performing video on my channel of all time. You guys really showed up, jumped in the comments, participated in the discussion, so thank you all so much for that. And I've had plenty of people in that comment section request that I do a part 2 or request that I do this video, and I kind of already made this video a long time ago. Back then it was monsters I want to see come to Monster Hunter 6. So the title alone tells you how long ago I've made it. Now we live in a post Gamescom world. We've seen a whole lot more of the game, and I have a couple different ideas of monsters I want to see make it, right? So monsters I won't be talking about in this video are gonna be like final boss monsters, big monsters, siege monsters. Think Gugmazios, Dalamador, Yukanlos, Agnaktor, because I want to do actually a separate video talking about that, because once again we live in a post Gamescom world. I've seen a lot of the game, and I have more thoughts about those monsters and want to do a separate entire video on those monsters particularly. So in this video we're gonna be talking about regular ass monsters, like not a huge spectacle, not nothing that would require like you got to make a whole new map. For example, like Lao Shanlong, right? You got to make the fortress and have them. Like, I don't think it would make a whole lot of sense to just have, or it could, I don't know, a Lao Shanlong just out in the map for us to go and discover in Wilds. You know what I mean? So if you don't see, you know, Gugmazios here or Dalamador here in my list, don't think that I don't want to see them show up. I'd love that, but I just want to talk about regular monsters in this video. So definitely subscribe down below if you want to see that video come through in the future. Also, there will be regular monsters that aren't on this list, because this video could be an hour long if I really truly sat here and talked about every single monster I'd love to see in Wilds. So yeah, with those disclaimers out the way, let's jump in. Okay, so I probably put this monster on the thumbnail because I know y'all clicked it thinking there's just no way this dude actually wants Plesioth to come to Monster Hunter Wilds. Well, I do, okay? And the reason why I do is because it illustrates the point that I want to make, where I don't want Capcom to copy paste anything, right? I don't want them to just pluck Plesioth from GU and just drop it in Wilds as is. No, I want them to give it new moves, give it new properties, things that will suit the game that it's in, Wilds, right? So yes, the idea that we probably have of Plesioth is the annoying fight, the invisible hip check, all that, right? And the last time that people actually mildly enjoyed Plesioth being in the game was the game that we could jump in the water and swim up to it and continue to box. And the swimming mechanic actually solves one of Plesioth's biggest problem, and that is the size, most notably the long legs. Okay, when you're fighting Plesioth on land, it's tall as hell, right? And a lot of weapons back then did not have the reach needed to actually hit Plesioth in a lot of places, right? So you spend the entirety of the fight trying to hit it in its toes, which puts you in range of its hip check, and the hip check comes out quick because back then we were slower as hunters, so it's harder to avoid the hip check, and of course the hip check box was huge. Now in Wilds, I do think they can rectify that by making Plesioth actually a little smaller, right? Similar to how like Rajangs in the new world, right? In World and Rise Sunbreak on average are smaller than what they used to be back then, back in 4U and GU, right? So we make Plesioth not as tall, right? You can make the legs a little shorter so that it's easier to hit him with more weapons. And also, the hunter now has more tools. We have focus mode, we have offset attacks, we have counters, and many more weapons movesets. So when you see Plesioth winding up that hip check or winding up the tail slap move, no problem, I'm gonna hit it with an offset attack and whoop his ass, right? We can all get our revenge from the days of invisible hit checks. Okay, so the next monster on the list is the trickster himself, Qurupeco, okay? So those of you who are unfamiliar with Qurupeco, I don't blame you. He's only in one game, Monster Hunter Tri and 3U, which is, you know, the same game, right? But Monster Hunter 3U was the only time we saw this dude, right? So bring him out of retirement. Of course, same thing I said with Plesioth. I don't want a copy paste, right? I do want them to give him new moves, new tools, right? But his main shtick is something that I think will fit really well with Wilds, and that is his ability to call other monsters on the map, right? So Qurupeco has the ability to mimic the roars of other monsters. And while you're fighting him, he will do this famously with Deviljho, as you're seeing here. He will mimic a Deviljho's roar, and a Deviljho will come running across the map to wherever you are, and both the Qurupeco and the Deviljho will be fighting you at the same time, right? So that being said, I do want Qurupeco to, you know, maintain this ability. I want him to have his main thing, but also with Wilds, we also know that some monsters are herds, right? So what if, you know, Qurupeco had the ability to call the whole herd over, right? You know, Qurupeco does the roar of a Doshiguma, suddenly 3, 4, 5 Doshiguma rolling up on you from across the map. Ooh, now you got to use that Mega Dung Pod that they talked about at the Gamescom demo. Or since we're on this one giant map that looks to be seamless, what if Qurupeco could call a monster that usually is only in one area of the map to a different area of the map, leading you to have fights in locations that you usually wouldn't have. For example, Raidao, right? We know he's the apex of the Windward Plains, but what if you're fighting a Qurupeco in the Scarlet Forest, and then he does the Raidao roar, and suddenly Raidao is in the Scarlet Forest trying to get in on some of the action because Qurupeco tricked him into pulling up. Along with his ability to call other monsters to his location, Qurupeco also is kind of a hunting horn in that he could buff other monsters that are near him when he's singing his songs. So I do also want Capcom to give Qurupeco more songs so that not only does he call other monsters to him, fighting monsters near him is also more difficult than usual because he has a bigger repertoire of songs and he can buff monsters in ways that weren't previously possible. But here in Wilds, with the next gen hardware and more powerful consoles, I think he could have an expanded song list that would make him an even more interesting addition to the Monster Hunter Wilds roster. Okay, so next up on the list, another pick from the Monster Hunter Tri era, Agnaktor, okay? So, love me some Agnaktor. Been too damn long since we've had a proper Agnaktor fight. But the reason why I'm picking Agnaktor is because it has some unique properties that I think could work well with the inclemency period that we may have in a volcano, right? Hear me out, let me cook. So, Agnaktor, right? It's got the magma spots all over its body, and as it digs underground in the volcano where it's presumably hot, the armor will be cool enough so that you can hit it, right? But if it stays out above ground long enough, then the armor will cool off on his body and harden, and then you'll bounce all over him anywhere he's got the armor on his body, right? So with that being said, I'm imagining that maybe during the inclemency of the volcano, right? Let's just say it's a volcano eruption, right? During the inclemency, he will always have the soft armor because it's just so hot in the surrounding area with the inclemency that the armor is just going to stay soft the whole time. Now, that sounds like a boon for the hunter, right? Because now there won't be periods where you have to wait for the armor to heat up anymore. You don't have to wait for him to dig and resurface. However, a trade-off for this is Agnaktor's trademark beam, right? You know, the clack, 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 and then he fires the beam. His beak is kind of like a flint, and he's clacking it to make a spark so that he can ignite the spark and fire the beam. Well, during the inclemency, it's just so hot, he doesn't have to clack, clack anymore. It's just so hot, he could just fire the beam with a whole lot less warning than before. So, Agnaktor would be a nice fight that changes depending on whether you're in the inclemency or the fallow period of the volcano map, which is one of the primary reasons I want to bring him back, along with, you know, the fact that they got monsters that drag their belly working in, you know, Balahara. They mentioned it during the dev live stream at Gamescom. So yeah, for those reasons, I think an Agnaktor could come back and be a very interesting way to showcase how different a hunt could be depending on the weather conditions of the current map, right? When the volcano's erupting, it's easier to hit his armor because it's always hot, but he's more dangerous because that beam attack comes out much faster and with a lot less warning than it would when the volcano is in its regular period. And for those reasons, I'd love to see Agnaktor make a return for Monster Hunter Wilds. Alright, next up on the list is gonna be Gammoth. That's right, the woolly mammoth herself, Gammoth, right? So with the bigger maps that we seem to be getting in Monster Hunter Wilds, like they said, 2 to 3 times the size of Monster Hunter Worlds maps, and you know, the devs have previously mentioned that her size was part of the reason why she's yet to make it to a modern game. Well, we got bigger maps now, so I think it'll be a perfect time to bring the last of the Fated 4 that has yet to make it to the modern game here in Wilds, right? Now, there's 2 scenarios in which I would really enjoy Gammoth being in Monster Hunter Wilds, right? Scenario 1, only Gammoth comes back, right? As far as like the Fated 4, right? So like, you know, Glavenus, Astalos, Mizutsune, they all sit out this time and Gammoth shows up as the Fated 4 representation. Or all 4 of them come back and we have a Fated 4 reunion in Monster Hunter Wilds, right? Because, you know, Gammoth is the last one that is yet to be modernized, right? So they modernize her and they say, well, we already got the other 3 modernized, so let's go ahead and put them in. And then there could be like a quest, you know, hunt the Fated 4, you know, and you run around the entire map taking them down one by one. Or maybe it could be like a little like custom quest, quote unquote, that you do on your own, right? Since much of this game is gonna be kind of like you're just out in the field doing your thing, and you know, you could just choose one day like, you know what, I'm gonna hunt each of the Fated 4 and I'm gonna start right now and see how long it takes me or whatever, right? You start a timer. It could be like a little, you know, a little speedrun challenge or whatever. But yeah, I definitely want to see Gammoth make it to Monster Hunter Wilds because she's the last of the Fated 4 that has yet to be modernized and come to a 5th gen or later game. So yeah, super simple reason, nothing crazy, no crazy theories with this one, but she's the last of the Fated 4. Let's go ahead and get her to the modern era. So for that reason, I want to see Gammoth make it to Monster Hunter Wilds. Okay, so the next monster on the list is gonna be Seltas Queen, and by extension Seltas as well, right? So a couple reasons why I want to see Seltas Queen in Monster Hunter Wilds is we partially, maybe kinda got confirmation that Congalala is in the game via the Dual Blade Showcase. Seems to be wearing Congalala armor, which means Stench is in the game, right? And Seltas Queen is one of the more threatening monsters capable of doing the Stench status effect, right? So, you know, I want to, you know, have her in the game, have her be as threatening as she's ever been, but also, like I said earlier, comes with Seltas, right? And this leads me to the next reason why I want to see her show up in the game is the new herd mechanic, right? So originally, Seltas Queen comes with Seltas, and then you kind of fight like 2 large monsters at the same time, but Seltas is super weak, right? However, with the new herd mechanic, as we saw at the Gamescom, right, where like you're fighting like 3 or 4 Doshaguma at the same time, I think a Seltas Queen can have a couple of male Seltas with her at the same time. So now she'll be able to have a Seltas on her back doing the thing that they do when they combine or whatever, and then maybe even 2 or 3 Seltas out and about, just around on the field with them as well. So then the chance of her, like, you know, doing the thing where she eats the Seltas for stamina can happen more often, because she could just kill one, not even the one that's on her back or whatever, and then you know, you'll be using the giant dung bombs to maybe get the other 2 Seltas out of here and fight just 1 Seltas and the queen. I think there could be unique interactions with more than just one Seltas and fighting the Seltas Queen at the same time. So for those reasons, I'd love to see the Seltas Queen make a return and give her some more unique moves that maybe utilize more than just one Seltas at a time, now that we have this herd mechanic in Monster Hunter Wilds. Alright, so next up on the list is a fan favorite, Nergigante. That's right, I want to see Nergigante come to Wilds. In the simplest way, I want to see him interact with more Elder Dragons, right? I want to see him live up to the Eater of Elders nickname that he has, right? You know, the power scaling, you know what I'm saying, people out there, oh yeah, Nergigante is so powerful, he eats Elder Dragons. I want to see it. I want to see it in game. I want to see it in action. I want to see him pull up on another Elder Dragon and just go to work and get a meal out of it. But also, in a gameplay sense, right? Now that we have the dead monsters actually being more of an object in the game, right? How we can climb on them to get our carves, and it seems that maybe even some monsters will use other dead monsters against you, right? Which leads me to believe, like I said, that dead monster carcasses are going to be more of an object in the game. I would wager that maybe you kill an Elder Dragon on the map, and it would have a similar effect that picking up an egg would have had on a Rathian back in the day, right? So, you know, we're out here focusing on, you know, spending more time out in the field hunting, right? You just chain hunts together. You don't have to go back to camp. So what if, you know, you kill an Elder Dragon, and then not long after the Elder Dragon has been slain, Nergigante is moving into your position, because we know bro doesn't skip on a free meal, you know what I'm saying? We know how Nergigante is, and that's part of the reason why a lot of the people who are like, yeah, Nergigante is so powerful, he eats Elder Dragons, but some others are like, nah, he only eats Elder Dragons that the hunter has already beat up, you know? So we can have him live up to that in a gameplay sense as well, where if you slay an Elder Dragon on the map, there's a chance that Nergigante will show up to, you know, partake in the remains of the fallen Elder Dragon, right? Or, you know, you see a Nergigante on the map, and then it has, like, I don't know, a dead Val Hazak, like, in his mouth or whatever as he's flying across the map, because, well, he's the Eater of Elders, you know what I'm saying? So for that reason, I do want to see Nergigante show up, because I want to see him interact with more Elder Dragons, right? I want to see him interact with Elder Dragons he's never interacted with before, right? What if, like, Valstrax is in the game? Then we can finally see that turf war that people really want to see, like, oh, Valstrax versus Nergigante, how's that gonna go? Who's stronger? Blah 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 blah. You know, so I want to see Nergigante show up and, you know, give him a chance to interact with the new, you know, like, dead monsters that we have, and then also want to see him live up to his Eater of Elders title. So yes, for those reasons, I'd love to see Nergigante show up in Wilds and wreak havoc on the other elders in the game. All right, so we've been here for almost 18 minutes already. So that's gonna be about it for this video. Now listen, just because I didn't mention a monster doesn't mean I don't want it to show up, right? Yes, I want to see Duramboros, Nibblesnarf, right, among other monsters show up. Or Odogaron, right? I want to see so many monsters come through, and I could do this forever, all right? So if this video blows up enough, maybe I'll do a part 2. But in this video, I tried to focus on monsters that would utilize the new systems that we see in Wilds to the best of their ability, with the exception of Gammoth. I just want to see Gammoth come through because she's the last of the Fated Four that hasn't, you know, made it to a modern game. But with all of the other monsters, I tried to incorporate, like, yo, the new horde mechanics that we the new herd mechanics that we have in the game, or the inclemency with the Agnaktor, and you know, things like that, right? So if your monster is not mentioned, that doesn't mean I don't want it. But also, this is where the real content of the video gets to happen, and that's you guys in the comment section. Just like last time, I'll do my best to reply to each and every comment that hits this video at least one time, and let me know which monsters I missed, or if you agree with some of my takes or disagree with some of my takes, right? I know y'all are gonna be hating on my Plesioth take, but hey, it is what it is. I think the dude could be fun, and we could get revenge for all the times we've suffered in the past with a little tweaking of Plesioth. So yes, hit the comments down below. Like I said, I'll reply to each and every one that hits this video at least one time. And as always, people, happy hunting. Peace.